Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 vs 4 on Carpiquet, and in this one I'm going to be playing with the 9th Panzer Division. I also have Islandman, Jagdsource and Genjeft on my team, who are going to be using the 21st Panzer, Panzer and 116th Panzer Divisions. On the opposing side we have Urmen, Dandin, Paradox Obscurus and Tiny Rick, who are going to be playing the 3rd Canadian, 4th Armoured, 2nd Armoured French and 3rd Armoured respectively. So this is a map that often a lot of people perceive to be Axis bias, generally because in Phase C you have things like Panthers, Tigers, especially with a division like the Panzer. You'd expect them to come on strong later in the game, and generally there's more time overall for Phase C than there is the first two phases. So in Phase A you have 10 minutes, in Phase B you have 10 minutes, and in Phase C there's 20 minutes if you're playing a 40-minute game. And that can make quite a big difference to the outcome of the game, like having that much time in Phase C to bring in powerful units that work very well in the open. However, the Allies do have some good things to use against armour, and especially the 4th Armoured. They have the Hellcats they can use. There's also airstrikes. That's one thing that definitely the Allies are very good at. They have a lot of various aircraft that can panic things like King Tigers and Panthers, and therefore you can use then things like 17-pounders to find side shots and straight up kills onto those units. Now let's have a little bit of a talk about what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to put it to my point of view, and I was going to go into the town here. Myself and Islandman had a bit of a discussion, ended up saying that I would go into the town, and I was going to send in basically pretty much like a mechanized push into the town, or more of an armored push, I guess, with things like the Panzer II Lux and the Panzer II Command, and then we also have the Flampanzer in there, supported by Panzer Grenadiers. So a pretty armored push, really, into the town. And I was hoping that the combination would work out very well, especially against divisions like maybe the 3rd Canadian or even, you know, the 2nd Armoured. I was expecting to be able to do pretty well at close range in this scenario. Things like Hellcats, however, can really be a problem. Also, M10s can also be a problem. So maybe not the French would be the best. And also, you know, just simple things like Honeys or like Stuarts or whatever. They can all be quite a big threat to things like Lux and the Flampanzers. So anyway, I'm going to be using this combination here. We have the Panzer 1C, we have a Panzer II Lux, we have the Befehl Panzer II, we have the 250-19, which is actually command infantry in that, and then the Flampanzer, and that is a pretty strong push, as long as I don't come up against any considerable high-powered armour. So off we go. Got a unit of Speed Troop with a Panzer 1C to the left side of the town. Quite simply just to provide the recon and information there across the open, whilst I focus the majority of my push into the town. I do have a unit of Panzergrens heading up to these hangars just to keep the front line forwards in the centre of the map. And then over on my far left I've got Islandman, who's going to be covering this for me. He's got a pretty decent setup. He's going to be relying on a S307 pack. The only issue that I feel like Islandman would face on this map is these tree lines. They're pretty awkward to move around, especially if you are trying to find those longer engagements. Like, the enemy can use these to get very close to you and cause you a lot of problems. So anyway, WC-52 going to be coming down the road. Spear Troop in their half track, just going to be engaging there. Panzer 1C should be able to kill off a WC-52 relatively easily, so I'm looking for that engagement there. Panzergrens moving into position. My armoured convoy is on its way. And there we go, dropping out one unit of Panzergrens, got the unit of command coming down. But here is a Hellcat. Hellcat's going to pop my Panzer 1C. It's a bit of an issue. But my 250-19 should be able to do a decent job against an M8 cavalry here. But that is 2-star veteran, and I only have 2 armor. So I'm in a little bit of trouble. I'm going to have to get my little armored convoy up here as soon as possible. Because at close range, the Panzer II, Lux, Panzer 1C and the Panzer II can do a lot of damage to an M8. The M8 there going to be finding the spalling hit onto my driver. Flam Panzer's going to be forcing the M8 to move, but is going to be killed off by an M1 gun behind it. Panzer 2C going to be engaging at very close range onto the M8, but going for the kill onto the 6-pounder there, as I felt it was a lot more scary. And then after that's done, Panzer 2 can just open up onto the M8. But you can see my Panzer 2 Lux was killed, and so was my Flam Panzer. So I kind of ran into an ambush there. I half expected to just be able to zoom around the corner, kill off the M8 and carry on, because generally, like, the 4th Armoured units don't have bazookas, so you can see the rifles here couldn't really fight back, especially against an armoured vehicle without an open top. However, cavalry scouts were on call to kill off one of my Panzer 1Cs, and then the Panzer 2 here runs into line of sight of the Hellcat again. So things really not too great for me at the start of the game. It could have definitely gone a lot better. Mostly came down to the fact that I was just extremely aggressive when I probably didn't need to be. So lost a lot of units unnecessarily. My Spähtrupp were taken out here, and my 251's being forced to fall back. Panzer 2 Lux comes up to reinforce, gets caught out on the train track, line of sight there from that Hellcat. Kind of dodgy. I thought that would be out of line of sight because of how thick this tree line was, but it turns out that was not the case. It had covered my reinforcements, and yeah, you can see my Flam Panzer going to be driving up in the same direction, so I end up having to cut across in order to avoid that happening again, which is really frustrating because it definitely makes things a lot slower. Now my 251-9, that's now moving over towards the airfield, as you can see. WC-52 is engaging it with the 50 cal, and the reason it's doing quite a lot of morale damage is because on the side armor it's only 1 armor, and a 50 cal, if it fires long enough, can actually penetrate that. Now I was quite happy to see my 251-9 there forcing that WC-52 to fall back almost immediately, but certainly took its time in trying to kill it off, and basically let the WC-52 get away. As you can see, it goes behind the trees there, and my 251-9 just failing to pick up the kill. So now Panzer 2C, that's rolling up. We are engaging the rifles here at close range. I chunked them down to 2 health from 12, which was quite considerable. New M8 cavalry has been brought in by Dandin, which is 2-star because of the armoured leader. I don't necessarily want to be engaging that with the Panzer 2C yet until I bring up some reinforcements. So my Flam Panzer is arriving here, and then what I'm going to try and do is move forward with my Panzergrens, reveal these rifles, flame them down, and then try and take out this M8. And if I can do that, then maybe I can make some ground into the other side of the town. But you can see that Dandin is also reinforcing himself, of course, so easier said than done. That close range, the Feldpanzer II with its 20mm autocannon can do a ton of damage to infantry, and with the help of my Flam Panzer, it should be pretty decent as well. So pinning down these cavalry scouts thanks to the 251-9, actually doing quite a lot of damage to them with the 9HE that the 251 can provide. Flam Panzer opening up onto the rifles there because of an attack move order, and it looks like Dandin was trying to sneak forwards to maybe kill this off with his M8. Does find the kill onto the Feldpanzer II. So it's up to my Flam Panzer now to kill the M8. And as long as this M8 is moving, he's not going to be able to kill me. And driving through all these flames actually causes the open top M8 cavalry to die. And that's exactly the reason he did die, because it was open top. So that now allows me to be a lot more aggressive with the Flam Panzer. I want to kill off these rifles if I can. I want to kill off the cavalry scouts. And if I can do that again, it gives me a chance to move forwards with reinforcing Panzergrenadiers and make some ground, because currently I'm in a pretty shoddy shape right now. Like, I have nothing. With this Hellcat moving over to the right side, I'm going to sneak a Befehl Panzer II into the town. I also have a Panzer II looks rolling up the road here. So my Flank Panzer does kill off that rifle squad, but finds the cavalry scouts. Cavalry scouts actually force my Flank Panzers to fall back after managing to shoot one of their Zukas. WC-52 eventually dies to the 251-9. He only had one job and he definitely made it hard work. But there is Abrams now on the field, and that is definitely hard for me to deal with as the 9th Panzer. I don't really have much to show when it comes to AP value in Phase A. So this Abrams is a problem, and therefore what I'm going to be doing is trying to tuck up the 259 as close to this tree line as possible, so that if he decides to try and peek round, I might find a side shot or close range shot that hits the mark. It's just all a matter of chance though, and it looks like Dandin is not going to take that chance and moves away from that engagement. Flank Panzer is moving up on the right side of the town here now. I was following up that attack move order quite simply to find out if the cavalry scouts had actually died, because I think during the actual live game I didn't know if they died or not. Now this was a big shame. Reinforcing Panzer Grenadiers get killed by the M18. Dandin did a fantastic job in this game of finding line of sight with those Hellcats onto my reinforcements, and that was like the 3rd time now or 4th time that he killed a unit coming in to reinforce, either on this track or on this road, and it's a big issue. So here you can see I'm having to like redirect my Panzergrens, hoping that these guys don't get killed, actually having to unload them early because of that. And I've also got this Opel Blitz munition coming up, but instead of just letting them sort of roll across the open really slowly, I think I end up unloading those as well. I've got the Panzer Schreck here, and that's been brought up to try and assist. And in order to take on Abrams, I'm choosing the Marder 3, which actually suits the open quite well. The only issue I have with this is it can be strafed by enemy planes, and I won't have much AA to support it with the amount of losses I've taken in the early phases so far. So I push forwards with my Panzergrens. They engage the rifles at close range. Rifles are going to win because they have more health. But across the map at the moment, you can see it's currently a +2, or +1, sorry, in favour of the Allies. They've got 52% territory lead, and that's mostly due to this right side. I think Genjeff was losing quite a lot of ground. On the left side, I think Island Man was losing a little bit as well, especially with his M8 engaging the SG-07 pack at close range. That's not ideal at all. But anyway, I'm trying to make up for it with this salient in the centre of the map, and considering the amount of losses that I made so far, or that I had so far, I was surprised I was actually gaining ground for my team in the centre of the map. But anyway, I have my units pretty well spread out, and we've just moved into Phase C, so that does give me a few more units to work with. My Panzergrens are, continuing to move up. Like I said, it's all very nice positioning. That's what's stopping them from overrunning me at this point. This Panzer II Lux, for example, being here is fantastic. There aren't many units that the 4th Armoured have that have bazookas, so keeping my Panzer II Lux this close to buildings is fine. And I'm just using that there to stop, units come down the road and so on. I've got the Befehl Panzer II here in the orchard. Again, same thing. If any half-tracks or Hellcats try and come down at close range, the Panzer II is just going to absolutely rip them to shreds. I do have this 251-2 here coming in. That is my mortar, going to be trying to clean up the rifle squad that was in this building, so you can see me trying to go for that kill. And with my reinforcing points, bringing up some Speertrupp to assist the 251-9, got some reinforcing Panzergrens, and a new command infantry to give the extra star to the Marder 3. because if this is a 2-star Marder 3 with 13 AP power and the initial 6 accuracy, it becomes very accurate indeed, and is very good for killing off things like the M4 Abrams and the reinforcing M4A1 that is coming in there for Dandin. So got some speed strip on the left side, got some anti-air coming in as well. Just trying to secure my position because I know I'm doing relatively well, and I'm kind of holding on to the hope that in the late game my team can come back from being at a disadvantage and join me in pushing into the enemy territory. But I believe that across the board my team was still having problems. Source is pretty static here. I'm pretty sure that's the 50-50. Little bit of ground loss here, little bit of ground loss here. I'm pretty sure that's just it. So my Marder 3 is trying to have a go at this M4A1 at the moment. I'm maintaining ground in the town. Armoured LMG rifles coming out to play there along with the half-track. Now, Dandin does get a cavalry scout unit up with the bazooka into range of this Panzer II look, so I do have to be careful now where I'm going to put that Panzer II. But what I do find on this left side is a shot onto the M3A1 with the Panzer II, which is very nice. And as those cavalry scouts try and move across the open, they do get hit quite heavily, taking them down to like 4 health. I've now got a Panzergren in the way as well, keeping that Panzer II looks safe for now. It's all a matter of just like building up the forces at the moment, getting to the point where we can really push back. It only really starts to get hard once the Allies get over 1,000 points. Now another unit of cavalry scouts comes out the woodwork, finds a kill onto my Flampanzer, which was unfortunate. That Flampanzer probably could have been in a much better place, or at least, you know, out of range of that tree line. But I really should have seen that coming. But the Panzergrens, they're going to absolutely annihilate the cavalry scouts, which allows me to put the Panzer II looks back into a decent position. 251-9 still in a good place, and some reinforcing infantry now on the way to support on the airfield. I also have an MU-109 G2 BR-21 on the way, and that's going to be going for the shot onto the AT gun there. Just going to be popping that in order to protect my right flank and allow the Marder 1 to continue its dominance over the airfield. However, I do have to be a little bit careful about this M4A1 engaging me, because 13 AP trying to penetrate 11 armor at max range is actually pretty damn difficult. Spitfire Mark 9 comes in. That's going to be engaged by Jagdsource's Focke-Wulf 190. There's also the AA having a go. Gepard's going to be the staple AA there for the Panzer. Almost finds a kill onto the Spitfire Mark 9, but looks like the Focke-Wulf 190 is more concerned with bombing the 81mm mortar. Going to be coming in with the bomb there and hitting the mark. Very nice indeed. So now we have an engagement between my Marder 3 and these two Abrams, and well, two M4s. Abrams being one of them. And what I'm going to do is quite simply break the line of sight with the hangar, because I don't want a 2v1 an M4 when I can initially engage them from out of range anyway. Now my 251-9, that's going to start engaging the M8. I've got to keep an eye though on the M4s rolling to the right side, so you can see me breaking the line of sight there again, just making sure I'm hidden behind that little tree patch. So generally what I probably should be doing here is maybe getting some recon to the centre of the town. That might allow me to play around some of my infantry and the Panzer IIs a bit more. But a really nice job here when my Marder 3 actually kills off Abrams in one shot. Very nice indeed. And now has line of sight onto the M8. That's going to be broken briefly. And I'm going to try and remain out of that 1,000 meter range. You can see me doing it all the time. They're trying to approach me to the point where they can engage me at close range. But all I need to do is just keep reversing and basically pick my engagements when I want them. It's all about just playing around with the line of sight. And in this case, just going to make sure it's completely safe behind one of these hangars. But again, the main thing that I was expecting at this point was like a B-26 or a bomber or something that would displace my Marder 3 enough for these tanks to come in and get the kill. This M4A1 76 is actually pretty worrying as well, because that has 9 front armor and the 1,200 meter range he needs. But in general, I've sort of very much stabilized now after what was quite an explosive start with all of my tanks going boom. Yeah, I've managed to stabilize and found a nice engagement there, killing Abrams. Abrams is very expensive these days, and it was definitely a good kill indeed. I'm also finding a cheeky shot there onto the M4A1 without being in line of sight of the 76 version. But yeah, Dandin's here. He does actually have a lot of half tracks and these WC-52s to support his infantry if he wanted to make a push here. But one thing you got to remember is that my Panzer 2s can rip to shreds his fire support in no time at all. So he's going to have to rely on units that have Zukas, and in this case, you know, the armoured rifles are now available since he's in Phase B, and he's going to be trying to, you know, get them up into the face of my Panzer 2, but I'm of course not going to let that happen. And my Panzer Grenadiers sort of tipping me off there that armoured rifles were on their way. Now 3-star mortar should do the job, help me pin down some of these infantry squads. So that's what I'm looking to do. And any infantry that comes into line of sight of the Panzer II is going to get hammered, so that's what happens there. They end up making my Panzergren surrender, but I make their armoured LMG rifle surrender, so a little bit of a trade. Not too much else happening. But a 54% territory lead for the Allies still in this game. I'm just not really doing enough to find an advantage just yet. So another Marder 3 or 2 arriving with this massing of Allied armour. 3 M4A1s, well, 4 M4A1s, one of being a 76 version. I'm massing up my Marder 3s to try and counter that. If I can kill the 1,200 meter range M4, then that will make the engagement very easy for me. But again, the whole time I'm worried about being bombed, because that's just one way to break around or get around that. On this side, the Panzer II did take out an M3A1 half-track, I believe, and the M3 half-track before being killed itself by the armoured rifles there in the Zuka. My Pioneer not quite in time to really get the kill onto the armoured rifle. We do see a half-track go down here as it tries to probe. Spots that my 251-9 still sitting behind that tree there. And I've now got a Panzer IV arriving to provide command to these Marder 3s that's a bit more mobile. Because I do, of course, have the Pioneer Führer here, but it's a little bit impractical when it comes to rolling across the open, whereas a Panzer IV is a lot more useful. So I find a kill onto some command infantry in the town. That was quite nice. But as you can see, my 251 is constantly being engaged by more reinforcing units from Dandin, rolling in with more M4A1s, and we have just jumped into Phase C. So generally this would be the time that you would hope to see a comeback from the Axis. Pioneer's going to be finding the bomb onto the armoured rifles. They're doing a lot of damage. This M3 half-track also rolling up, but into line or into range of my other Pioneer squad. If I can reload the grenade and get another one onto the M3 half-track, that would work out quite nicely, but instead what's going to happen is my Pioneer is going to get pinned down, and we lose them, unfortunately. A little bit of engagement went on here. Just trying to keep my Marder 3 out of direct line of sight. And over on the left side, I did supplement a Marder 3 to try and help out Island Man after he's been pushed back from this tree line. You can see that the amount of devastation that's gone on here. So armoured rifles finally killed off. Flak 36 at close range do a lot of damage to these armoured rifles, which is really good actually. Something that I didn't necessarily count on, but was quite thankful for. And now we see Panzer Grenadiers pinning down armoured rifles in the open, but they don't want to be in line of sight of multiple M4A1s for very long, I'll tell you that much. That is a lot of 50 cals. My Marder 3 is just trying to get into a less awkward position to engage all of this armour. And even more armour on the way. We see Paradox Obscurus reinforcing with his own French units there. Jagdsaws has held off quite nicely on my right side, currently relying on this Befeld Panther to keep the rest of the enemy armour at bay. And now, since we are in Phase C, we do have this nice big old airfield to push across. Jagdsaws is going to be bringing up a Tiger E. I also have Tigers available, so I'll be trying to rely on those in the later phases. But my 251 finally dying, as unfortunately he ran out of places to hide as Paradox Obscurus comes in with his tanks. But I'm just going to have to back off with the Marder 3s for now. Taking an engagement with something like an M4A3 is not ideal. So I'm waiting for Jagdsaws' Tiger to arrive to kind of tank the shots from the M4A3 and then allow my Marders to engage like unharassed. So Panzer IV-J joining my Panzer IV-H and 3 Marder 3s. I'm also now going to be rolling up with my own Tiger, just so that I can do that tactic that I was relying on Jagdsaws, but myself. Because it's quite hard to communicate unless you're on comms, somebody, you know, tanking shots for you, especially when it's very micro-intensive, like the M4A3 might move forwards a little bit, and you'll leave the Tiger there to, you know, tank the shots, but they might still be trying to move forwards to get the Marder 3s, and then you want to micro that accordingly. So you can see here Jagdsaws is currently moving back, but ideally I want his Tiger to actually tank the shots from the M4A3 and the M10, because it's got 12 armour at the end of the day and is a lot more suited to do that. But I kind of have a little bit of an ambush set up here. The Panzer IV-H and the Panzer IV-J in a very good position to just sneak around the hangar there and get some kills off. I've also, of course, got the Marder 3s waiting waiting to get in range. This Marder 3 finds a shot onto the M4A1. The Tiger is now engaging the two 1,200 meter range units, bringing across the Marder 3. Tiger E is arriving at the same time, and we have a big tank engagement on our hands. One of my Marder 3s does go down. I find the kill onto the M4A1 here with the 1,200 meter range gun, which is really nice for my Marder and allows me to reverse that out of range and just continue to fire away. So the Tiger is currently being engaged. My Panzer IVs roll out. They get pretty much forced to fall back immediately. And the tracks on my Befeld Panzer IV were destroyed, but as these M4s start to fall back, they fall into line of sight of the Marder 3. This tank engagement though, really awesome. Befeld Panzer IV does go down. M10 does get killed off by my Tiger E just in time. More M4A1s being killed off. And what a fantastic air engagement this was. But as you can see, the Allies actually making ground into Phase C with this overwhelming armoured push. It's really forced the Tigers back. It's not necessarily won them the day just yet, but it's definitely caused us to have to fall back, and we don't really have time to do that. They're gone over 1,200 points now. There's only 14 minutes left on the match, so we better get rolling forwards again. We are joined by Barkman, Jagdsaws' Panther A, and alongside that and the two Tigers, we should have more than enough to kill off the rest of the armour that's opposing us. I've still got a Marder 3 alive. Panzer IV-J, another Marder 3 on the left side. Just looking for the engagement onto these 1,000 meter range Rhinos and M4A1s. Focke-Wulf 190 going to be coming in with a bomb. I think it got forced to fall back before it dropped it. MU-109 picks off the 6-pounder on the right side just to make sure that's no longer an issue. Thanks to Spear Troop from Jagdsaws, we could see that. And this is actually, you know, from my perspective at the moment. I actually genuinely thought we were on neutral perspective because of the amount of stuff we could see. But that's also thanks to these speared through that are currently hidden very close to the other side of the airfield. But as you can see, as soon as any units get left behind and fall into range of the Tiger E's or the Panther, they just get killed. And that's exactly what's happening. M10 going to be going down there, and we can just continue to push on. The only issue that we might have is as we continue, we might get flanked and have like AT guns on both sides of the airfield that would make things difficult. But anyway, Hellcat going to be going down there. The engagement in the centre continuing. It's just really, really cool to see these units carry on. And Barkman here with his slightly damaged Panther looking absolutely awesome, honestly. It's just a joy to watch these Tigers just roll forwards and just find their target and blow them to pieces. That one there missing the M4A1. Meanwhile in the town there has been an engagement going on here that I haven't really been focusing on, but basically it was just sort of me trying to make some ground with a couple of Panzer squads coming in. We have like a couple of half tracks bringing in the Panzer. I took out his infantry. I used a Flampanzer to take out an MGMC as well, I believe, and that worked out very nicely in the town there. But who doesn't want to see an epic tank engagement on the Carpiquet airfield? So 1,200 meter range, going to be very nice to deal with this M1 gun. So just going to be trying to take full advantage of that while I can. And making sure things like these M1 guns can't get in range of the Marder 3s is very important because they can penetrate them very easily. And the Marder 3 can't like one-shot an M1 gun like an M1 gun can in Marder 3. So I also have the 251-9 coming up as well now. That's hopefully going to provide the HE value that can kill off an AT gun a lot quicker. And also the Panzer 4J is just like rushing up to where these speared through are as well. I tried to move over the 251-9 from the town. That bumps into a cavalry scouts though. And we can see a Marder 3 has been caught out a little bit by this M4A3. So yeah, that's a really good idea there from Paradox Obscura. She used the line of sight to present a threat behind the tree line. The only way we're going to deal with that is possibly by bombing it or using some artillery. And I don't have that capability at the moment. So even though we have, you know, 2 Panthers on the field, we got 2 Tigers or 3 Tigers between myself and Jagdsource, it's actually pretty difficult for us to push up. We would have to push like more to the left here to maintain the range against the M4A3 and stopping it from penetrating at closer range. So Spitfire Mark 9 coming in and bombing the 251-9. But we're still not winning the game. +1 still in favour of the opponents. I'm keeping the 50-50 in this town, and fighting over this town was definitely something that you know, remained a factor throughout the game. It was just constant. Both myself and Dandin just throwing our mechanised forces at each other throughout the game, whilst this tank engagement went in myself and Jagdsource's favour on the airfield there. Now on this left side, my Marder 3 is having a little bit of an issue. Transmission damage not doing it much favours, and it's only going to be a matter of time until this M3A3 or M4A3 hits the mark. There we go, Marder 3 goes down. I don't think I was necessarily microing that at the time, just had it there to support, and with it dying, it does kind of leave a big gap for Tiny Rick to try and push through into the later phases. Now as we move forwards here, Tiger does find the line of sight onto an M4A1 that was reinforcing. This M4A3 behind the tree line here, still alive and still a threat. Like, can we do it though? Can we bring this back? The Panzer 4's engaging the M4A2 on the right side. Barkman also having a go, getting the crew wound. Does find the kill. Tiger E's engaging the Hellcats. We see the M4A3 sneak out on the right side, kill these Panzer IVs. Kill off one Hellcat, kill off the M1 gun. Another extended engagement. These Hellcats not standing a chance against the overwhelming Crypt Steel. Love it. Oh, juicy kill there onto the Firefly. My Panzer IVs do go down. Panther picking up another Sherman. Absolutely just crazy. Like, there is nothing more satisfying in Steel Division than watching like a line of Tigers and Panthers just roll across the airfield and annihilate everything. It just is wonderful, and it just looks fantastic when you zoom in on the units as well. I mean, just look at it. Look at the absolute tank graveyard. So that's both the Tiger E's from Jagdsource there. Mine over on this left side. Actually, I think, no, one of those is mine. Never mind. One of them is Jagdsource's. We do kill the M4A3 at close range, and that reinforcing AT gun just not doing the job. Cavalry scouts were taken out here. Now just a matter of trying to kill off these rifles. In the middle of the town, surround the rifles there as well. Panzerschreck rolls up, kills off a half-track. Panzer IV-J has also joined the fight in the town, and I'm really starting to make a lot of ground now, since it seems as though Dandin kind of ran out of steam towards the end of the game here. A lot of his units going down. Without the Hellcats, it's very easy to be overrun by an armoured division, because he has literally nothing to stop these Tigers and so on from moving forwards. Panzer IV is going to be engaging the M3A3 behind this tree line. Doesn't really stand much of a chance against the Tiger that's approaching. I'm even just rolling straight up into its face with this Tiger. Can he get out of line of sight in time? He just did. Shooter wounded. How many shots does he want to take? Eventually goes down to the Tiger E, and I'm rolling on. My Panzer IV does end up getting taken out by the armoured rifles here, and I was a bit bewildered when that happened. I wasn't entirely sure what killed my Panzer IV, because I kind of expected it to die sooner if it was going to. But getting into range of the armoured rifles is one way to get your Panzer IV killed, of course, and Panzergrens here going to end up killing the half-track that was in their way. And yeah, just making a lot of ground. We've taken it back to 50-50, but with the 5 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock, there's not too much time. And I do lose another Marder 3 here. I think he got picked off by one of these Hellcats. But one-on-one, Tiger's always going to beat a Hellcat. And that's exactly what we're seeing here as they slowly roll into line of sight one by one. The Tiger just picking them off. And it's very, very nice to see. And the sound of that Tiger firing is just so damn satisfying. Now my Panzer II looks here, does find a flanking manoeuvre around these units in the town. They're making a little bit of ground, pushing us to a +1 now. Finally getting some points on the board. We're just all a bit too late, really. On this left side, Island Man, unfortunately still not doing too great. His King Tiger being forced to fall back. And that's exactly what he would have needed to push through, but like I was saying before, airstrikes are a very good way at delaying the Axis from pushing forwards. In the mid, it was just that overwhelming like armoured force that made myself and Jagdsource have to wait to bring in better armour ourselves. Spitfire there going to be landing the bombing strike onto the Marder 3, and that was, like I said, something I was worried about earlier in the game. This late into the game doesn't particularly matter when you have Tigers rolling around, one either side of this complex here. So I've got one on the left, one on the right. That's quite simply to try and provide a crossfire through all of the buildings where the line of sight is a bit dodgy. M4A1 Rhino going to be rolling into line of sight of the Tiger E. One shot, one kill. Lovely stuff. Seeing the armoured rifles there. I do manage to take out the half-track. The armoured rifles, of course, still alive. So going to be moving the Pioneers in there to try and take care of that. Panzer IV-J has been brought up as reinforcement to kill off some of these half-tracks and so on. And what you would have expected in this game has occurred later on, but too late. And yeah, although myself and Jagdsource are making a lot of ground now, it's pretty inconsequential. It won't make a difference to the outcome of the game. 3 minutes left. Just got to try and find as many tank kills as I can. Tiger E actually ending up going down there to a 76mm Sherman, I believe that was. Just outstayed his welcome. I think he took a side shot. He must have taken a side shot there. Yeah. Unfortunate. Half-track is going to be killed off by the armoured rifles as they use up the last of their Zuka shots. At close range, the Pioneers, pretty good against armoured rifles, but the HE relatively the same. 2 more HE for the Pioneers, I think. And the fact that the armoured rifle started with more strength might even end up making my Pioneers lose that fight. But yeah, I was just more worried about, you know, getting this Panzer IV-J more kills. Losing the Tiger was a bit of a setback. But Jagdsource is just rolling up on this right side now, just cleaning up the rest of Paradox Obscurus' units that were standing in his way. And we are currently on 54% territory lead. But like I said before, it's got to the point where it doesn't even matter. I'm bringing up multiple Panzer IVs there to push on this left side, maybe kill off some of Tiny Rick's units. The Königstiger does have a wheel damage here, which is a bit of a problem, but my Panzer IV-J, they're going to be finding the kill onto the M4A3, so that was great. And I guess it's just sort of a little bit of a consolation prize coming through and gaining all this territory later on, but would have been nice to actually win this game based on the amount of damage that we did. Tiger going to be turning to engage. It is currently being surrounded. We've got the M4A2 on this side, 76 and Hellcat shooting from the other side. Wheels get damaged, falling back. It's only a matter of time until a side shot comes in and gets the kill. Poor Tiger did the job and made the ground, but in the end it didn't even matter. So, Panzer IV-J just continuing to hammer the Jumbo, forcing that to fall back. Not actually going to get the kill if that's firing in front armour, but still can try. Thunderbolt going to be coming in with the rockets there. And breaking past this tree line actually is pretty important, because it allows this Königstiger to sort of fire down here towards the Calliope and M4A3 as he gets into line of sight. Yeah, just continuing the attack move forwards. 30 seconds left on the clock. It was a shame that both the Tigers died, but what an epic tank engagement it was across this airfield, and it's been a very long time since I've seen that occur, honestly. Generally, you know, you don't have those big old tank engagements because it's quite risky, or there's a division that has 17 pounders and so on. But when your opponent is forced to defend with their own armour, it causes those big old tank battles, and it's fantastic. 40 minutes though, that was a major victory for the Allies. 4,813 kills to 3,025 losses for myself. Jagdsource with a 3,598 kills to 845, pushing through with me at the end there. Fantastic stuff. Unfortunately, Island Man and Genjeft not going positive, but definitely tried the best. And on the opposing side of things, Paradox put on a lot of pressure early. Unfortunately, lost a lot of his units later on, which caused the negative KD. Same with Dandin. Nice amount of pressure early. Unfortunately, Hellcat's fallen apart to those Tigers late game. Uermen and Tiny Rick, though, great job on either flank, putting a lot of pressure on and definitely causing that +1 throughout the majority of the game that led to the victory. So these are the kills of... who is this? UMN onto Genjeft. Unfortunately, I didn't have it from my point of view at the end of the game, so I can't show you my own kills onto those Tigers and so on. It's a bit unfortunate. But either way, what an epic game that was, and hopefully you really enjoyed it. Some of you will definitely enjoy it because it was a defeat on my part. And I know you guys like seeing me lose occasionally. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.